Hello, this is Spellbinder with this update on the Gulf Coast as of Friday on the Intel Hub radio show from American Freedom Radio Network. His guest on Friday was Dar Jamal, and he's a investigative award-winning journalist, and he was down there getting the facts about how the dispersants are being sunk. They're covering everything up is what they're doing, and people are going to die. It's basically what he's saying. And I'm going to get to it now because this clip is going to be about 15 minutes long, and it's all of it's in vital information you got to know now. If you live down there, this is important to hear, and here it is.
No worries. Well, basically what we were talking about was the fact that, BP's strictly controlled the VU program, and so when all the fishermen participating in it, they get on boats and they put BP / the Coast Guard. I mean, and again, I kind of use these terms synonymously because BP's running everything. So whether we talk about the U.S. government response to this, or the Coast Guard, or NOAA, go on down the long list, or even in some instances the National Guard, let's be really clear, it's BP calling all the shots. So in the VU program, they're putting transponders and beacons and flags on all the participating vessels in order to track them, so that when these folks go out and locate the oil, this serves two purposes. That's what we were talking about. The two purposes are, one, when these folks actually locate the oil, they'll have the exact GPS coordinates of that oil, so they'll know exactly where to send the folks in the Carolina skiffs to go spray it with dispersants and sink it. And then two, the transponder serves the second purpose, which is they always know exactly where these boats are, so they can, again, alert the Carolina skiffs as well as Coast Guard airplanes who might be spraying dispersants and keep them away from the folks in the VU program. So, and it's been overall largely fairly effective at keeping a lid on this, and that's why it's only a few independent journalists and folks along the Gulf who understand what's going on and are trying to get the information out, and that's why we really haven't seen this story in the mainstream media, because they've been largely effective. BP's been largely effective at keeping people away from this, to getting photo and video proof of what's happening.
Yeah, we even had reports in here that DHS has shut down scientists in the area. They've confiscated their samples and their notes, Dar, and the reason they cited this was under the guise of national security. Have you heard anything like this? Have you seen any DHS involved in anything like this, going around, telling people they can't do this, they can't do that?
Yes, this is absolutely happening. I can give several examples, but I think one of the more disturbing is I'd written a story a ways back talking with these two Mississippi commercial fishermen who had been in the VU program and seen everything that we were just talking about, the spraying of dispersants, both from airplanes and boats, numerous other really incriminating things they'd seen. And they were released from the VU program eventually, and were taking people out on their boat to try to show them, look, we have the feds in the States, go ahead and they're trying to push to open our waters for fishing, and we think this is a really bad idea because we know for a fact there's still oil and dispersants out in the Mississippi Sound. And so they were literally taking journalists and scientists out on their boat to show them this oil still in the water column. And they told me that after one of their trips, they had someone out with them taking samples, and they came back into harbor, and then when the person that was with them taking samples tried to leave, they were actually met by a federal agent in an unmarked car who tried to confiscate their samples. So this kind of thing, in addition to, I've spoken with many people who were in the VU program who were made very, very sick by the dispersants, which is very, very common now. And then when they've tried to go meet with doctors, the doctor literally wouldn't talk about BP or dispersants with them.
Yeah, because scientists from Texas A&M reported that on national radio. And then, why do you think they would be using this guise of national security? I mean, is this strictly to suppress this information, or is there something else going on in the Gulf, Dar? The reason I say this is, okay, if you add this up, okay, we've turned down 39 countries that have offered aid. It's a militarized no-fly zone. I mean, it's just like they don't want anyone in there. They're blocking what's going on. Do you think there's something going on deeper than what, even deeper than this oil spill? I mean, why turn down 39 countries that could have came in and helped us? You know, why are we seeing this? They're citing national security, in your opinion?
Well, the citing national security is, I mean, that's how they're going to use to justify everything from now on. So whether it's stripping away more civil liberties or, you know, shredding more parts of what's left of the Constitution, I mean, it's always going to be done in what they say the interests of national security. I mean, you know, Hitler used that excuse too. But I think really everything that I've seen with everything you just mentioned, in addition to what I've been talking about, and the suppressing of information, not letting people collect oil, hiding the health and biological effects and effects on the environment of it, all of this points toward a massive effort of limiting BP's liability, because the more oil is found to have been released, coupled with the more that's actually collected, along with dead wildlife that's being collected, etc., each part of that amounts to fines for BP. And so when you hide the evidence, you're basically going to be minimizing BP's liability, coupled with also suppressing the information so people don't understand how absolutely devastating this disaster has been, so that people won't raise a ruckus about, look, BP needs to not be allowed to drill in the Gulf of Mexico, period, because they're patently unsafe. But it's bottom line, it's about protecting BP's liability. And again, when we look at the fact, and I think calling this fascism is spot on, and when we look at the fact that BP's running the show using the Coast Guard, the government, and agencies thereof to carry out its agenda, it's been very, very effective, again, at minimizing its liability.
Yeah, you know, I agree with that. What's going on with the fishermen down there and the fishing industry? Have you had a chance to speak with some of these fishermen, and are they fishing? Are they, you know, not willing to fish? What's going on? Yeah, fishermen have been one of my key points of contact for information for numerous reasons, but let me give you an example of this, and that's another really important question, because the fishing industry has been annihilated in this disaster. And let me give you an example. On August 16, I went out on a boat out of Fouchon, Louisiana. It's nearby Grand Isle, and we chose that day to go out because that was the day that the feds in the state had opened up more of Louisiana's waters for shrimping, for white shrimp. And so when we left port going out, we passed two shrimpers coming back in after going out early that morning and shrimping for several hours. One of them, when we asked him how many shrimp he caught, he said 0, not one. And this is normally a situation where people will go out and catch anywhere from 300 pounds of shrimp to upwards of 1,000 pounds of shrimp on a really good day. And so to catch no shrimp is extremely shocking. And then minutes later, we passed another shrimper coming in, and he said he had caught 12 shrimp. Not 12 pounds of shrimp, not 1,200 pounds of shrimp, but literally 12 shrimp total. And this is shocking, and this is what we've been hearing in all the states where people have actually tried to go out and fish, is that they're literally catching either nothing or such small amounts that it's rather startling. You know, what's the people's reaction in and around the area about the people that are getting sick? You know, not just their reaction about BP or what they think of this oil spill, but are people noticing other people getting sick? What are the sick people saying? I mean, are they starting to really talk about this? Is this causing a stir?
Well, this is a big problem where the effectiveness of the suppression of information is literally going to be costing a lot of lives in the long run, because all kinds of things like rashes to respiratory problems to heart palpitations, I mean, there's all kinds of different health effects that are already happening, started immediately and are continuing to happen as a result of a massive amount of people being directly exposed to the Corexit, both from inhalation as well as just being out in it on the water at times. And the problem is that, you know, smaller communities where people are talking, like in Louisiana, for example, in the marsh areas, the first and most heavily affected by all of this. They're acutely aware of these problems, and they're doing what they can to deal with it. But the problem is most people, given that there hasn't been a large alarm sounded on a federal or even state level alerting people to these problems, most people are basically just treating it on their own. They're going to Walmarts and Walgreens, rather pharmacies, and buying things to deal with respiratory problems or that kind of thing, even though it's common enough along the coast that it's already being referred to as the BP crud. And this usually means a cough and nausea and other types of problems like this. But again, it's being suppressed enough, the information that is, that most people really aren't aware of the direct health problems, what are some of the symptoms they need to be watching out for, and what should they do if they start to exhibit these symptoms. And so that's a big problem as well.
Well, it's almost genocidal, in my opinion. Early on at the Intel Hub, we documented some staged photo ops, some press shoots. They would take the media out onto, about a, half-acre section of beach. They had some oil dumped on it, and to either side of the press shoot, there was, nice beaches with no oil on it. Of course, the Coast Guard and military was there. They would tell the reporters if they left the area, they would be arrested. And, they would just sit there. The corporate media would come in and document this. Have you seen any of these staged events, photo shoots? Have you been to any press meetings or conferences where they're just pumping out propaganda and you're not buying it?
I have not. I've basically avoided that stuff like the plague. I just don't have the stomach for it, even though it does make for really good copy to go attend it and actually write about it. I haven't. I've really, I have limited resources down there, so I spend my time going out with fishermen and talking with residents and scientists and people very, very directly affected. I think given a little bit more time, I certainly would do that, and I have actually interviewed people who've gone to these public meetings and actually watched a couple of them on disc because they're farces. I mean, I watched one video of a meeting that took place over in Florida between it was BP and Coast Guard meeting with a bunch of the VU workers, and it was more like a riot situation than a public information meeting. It was supposed to be a question and answer session, but people were so outraged at what they were seeing and what they were being asked to participate in this VU program of not actually cleaning up oil, being laid off when more fresh oil was rolling in on a daily basis, and it was more like a riot situation. And that actually, from what I've read and what I understand and people I've talked with, tends to be the more common situation along the Gulf, that these meetings are, they are just for show, they're just for propaganda purposes, and the people who attend them are completely outraged.
Dar Jamel, how's the economy holding up in and around the region? Any signs of it faltering?
Well, absolutely. I mean, we have the commercial fishing industry that has really been torpedoed. I mean, they were expecting a really, really good season this year, and when they can't go out and fish, and then that there's a big downstream effect from this. When we don't have that industry functioning, the people who package it, the people who ship it, the restaurants along the Gulf Coast who rely on it, restaurants across the country and stores across the country that rely on it. I mean, this is already having a huge economic effect. And then, of course, with tourism, a lot of the like Orange Beach, Alabama, and Western Florida that rely so heavily on tourism, they're trying to act as though they really haven't been affected by this, but they have been. So tourism has been another huge economic blow that the Gulf region has suffered from this.
Absolutely. Well, this has been an extremely compelling interview, Dar. I appreciate you for coming on the Intel Hub. Go ahead and plug your sites. Let everyone know where to find your work.
Basically, people can look at all of my text and photos taken by the partner that I've been working with down there at dar.org, dahr.org.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on the Intel Hub, Dar. We'll have to get you back on soon.
My pleasure. Take care.
You have a good one. There he goes, Dar Jamel, award-winning journalist. You heard it. Some pretty compelling evidence he's conjured up down there of what's going on And
there it
it's
is.
pretty gut-wrenching
We'll talk
to
to
know
y'all
that
later.
the American people are just being poisoned
You're
down
being
there.
poisoned down there.
They're being killed.
Be good. Be
It's
good
pretty
at
much
it.
open
Good
genocide.
day.
I don't even know what to make of it. And the president's just open.